Doing all right. How you feeling, Paige? How you feeling?
How
How
I'm
you
feeling.
feeling? Be honest
Well,
with the audience. You're not well, right?
no, I'm not well at the moment. Just a bit run down, burnout from such a big year, but other than that, yeah, I'll be fine. I'll keep pushing on. I'll be
Hey,
right.
I would be burnt out too with the amount of lessons that you do, my friend.
Yeah,
Hey,
it's good.
so let's get into it. Let's talk about just what's happened recently. You've just played in a big tournament, right? Something that I am extremely jealous of. That it will never ever happen in my lifetime. This lifetime.
It was
Did you just
pretty
you just,
cool.
you just played the Aussie Open, right?
I did. It was my first Aussie Open. It was so exciting, especially like going into the tournament as a coach. It's like kind of hard to believe that I played the tournament because that's what
Mm,
you work for when you're a tour pro. And then
mm,
got into the tournament and the vibes were just next level. It kind
mm.
of made me miss tour golf, but then when I started missing a few putts, I was like, that's why I enjoy coaching a bit more.
Hey, were you nervous?
Surprise! Like I'm never nervous until I stand at the tee box,
Yeah.
and then my name gets called, and then next minute, like these nerves come up. So I'm never nervous like before the tournament or during practice rounds. I'm like kind of enjoying the moment. And then when my name gets called, I do get nervous, but I always pump it off the tee. I think the nerves are good for me, and I love a crowd.
Yeah.
So when there's cameras and stuff around, I'm like, watch this, guys. So I'm a bit of a show off in that
Oh,
regard.
are you now? I'm like, that's not me. I'm like, hey, look over there. There's a bird. Dunk.
Nah, I'm like, all cameras on me. I play better.
Oh wow, how good's that? Hey,
Yeah.
and when you get nervous, do you sometimes just think of the worst, or you just kind of nervous, like you don't think, oh my god, I'm going to top this, I'm going to shank it, or how do your nerves come?
I think those words come into my head,
Yeah.
yes, but I really try and disassociate that thought and pretend it's someone else saying that to me because I think if
Okay.
like bring that on as me as a feeling, if
Yeah.
that makes sense, then I like take it on board. Whereas I talk to myself and say, I know you're thinking like that, and that's totally okay. However, this is what I'm going to do, and I try and
Mm.
tell my feelings
Yeah.
what I'm going to do, if that makes sense.
Yeah, no, I agree with you. And I know that little bit of stuff in that, with that mindset as well. It's kind of, it's okay to think that. I understand why you're thinking that, but
Yeah,
it's not going to do me any good right now. We're going to just keep
correct.
it.
Yeah, exactly.
And what
Yeah.
about, so the lady, was it the women's, I guess, Australian Open is what you call it, but it was joined up with the men's Australian Open. How did you get
hmm
much of a vibe? Like, I know you're a coach these days, but what was the take on it down there?
Um, well, I've played the Vic Open a few times, so
Mm,
I'm
okay.
kind of used to the male female dynamic.
Yeah.
Um, I don't know. I just think it's super, super busy. It's really buzzing. It gives like all the sponsors and all the basically people following just such a
Mm,
good vibe to see how different the women and men's game are, and also how good we both are in our own rights. You know what I
yeah.
mean? Like, so I think it gives like a really good showcase of like women and men's professional golf, and
Yeah.
just the energy there was really good.
It would be. I was at the Australian PGA the week before, but I
Yeah,
heard the event. I heard the Aussie Open was really well run. How was what?
yeah, it
So it was
was.
at two golf courses, right?
Yeah, it was at Kingston Heath and Victoria Golf Club. So that was probably the downfall about, like, it's the same with the Vic Open. You got to learn two courses
Mm,
in 1 week. So just trying to take on all that information and try and get, adequate practice in on both courses where the greens are, a little bit different in how they, how the balls are
ah,
bouncing on them,
yeah.
and the greens are a bit faster and slower and all that kind of stuff. So
Mm,
that was, look, it was for the same for everyone, so it doesn't really matter. But
mm.
yeah, I think having one course, but you can't really do that with like 300 players,
I
can
was
you?
gonna say, yeah, Jesus Christ, you got a set of clubs. You're bloody popping around. Tell
Yeah.
me, was Victoria the preem one, the good one out of the both of them?
I actually think Victoria was in really good condition,
Yeah.
but
Yeah.
I kind of fell in love with Kingston Heath. I don't know, it really just suited my eye, and obviously the second round showed that the first six holes I was just four under through five.
I was gonna say, let
So
me guess, you played good there, right? Like it's always
yeah.
good.
But I also think because I had a little bit more practice on that course during the week because the Pro-Am was at Victoria.
Yeah.
So that only gave us, we couldn't practice there on the Wednesday. So I had Um, I played 2 rounds at Kingston Heath, so I just had a little bit more
Yeah, okay.
familiar, I was a bit more
Yeah.
familiar with that course. And I'm
Unreal.
very much a person, if I love something, I'm pretty good at it. So
Yeah.
I loved that course. So yeah, anyway.
That's it's you talk about that getting ready for both courses thing, and I did hear that. I did hear that I had to caddy up at the Aussie PGA. Well, I had to. I got to, and yeah, I can't imagine having to get ready for 2 courses. Like it's a lot. I don't think that people understand the preparation that goes into it. So you get given these yardage books that are just
Mhm.
bananas, right? It's like
Yeah.
hieroglyphics. I don't know how you players will, ex-player yourself, read it, and then you've got to try and get both of them sorted out, and then you've got to get comfortable with both courses, and
Yeah.
it's
Yeah,
it's
it
a lot
is.
trickier than what
It's
people
tough,
think.
but I think the more you play tournaments, the more experience you get
Yeah.
to kind of just quickly disregard areas on the golf course that you're like, you know what, that's really not a good place to go. And if we go there, we'll just deal with it at the time. But um, yeah, I think you just get used to it the more you play. But I was a bit rusty in that regard. I'm like, how do I do this again? Like, and that
Oh,
was
mate. Oh, but you're a good player. So tell me, right? Um, I know you as a coach, right, through the online coaching community,
mhm.
and I asked you before the podcast how you got into that event. You got into that
Yeah.
event. We'll kind of talk a little bit more about your playing. You So what do they do? They stop the rankings or something for 3 years? What happened there?
Yeah, so because of COVID, the international players couldn't get over here to play those little tournaments and stuff. So the last couple years, our tournaments haven't gone towards a ranking. It's just been like, play for a bit of money. So
Um,
the ranking was the same from 2019, I think it was,
okay.
but it will be changing from this year now,
Reset.
obviously, because yeah. So my ranking was good enough to get into all the major kind of events, which is pretty lucky.
Yeah,
Like
that's
I did well
unreal.
in 2019, so got the opportunity to go play, and yeah, it was pretty cool. But coaching up until it, I'm trying to play my 2 days off a week. I'm playing 18 holes.
Yeah.
I'm just like I'm exhausted.
Hey, but you made the cut. Come
I
on.
did make the cut.
You
I
made the
was yeah.
cut. You
I
see?
think I did make the cut. I was pretty disappointed because I had 16 putts and
Are you
I
joking?
missed about 10 putts inside 6 to 8 feet for birdie. Like I was hitting it mint. And
16 3 putts.
yeah, my dad counted. He's like, imagine if you just halved that. You would have been like top 20, top 30 easily.
Oh my
So
God.
yeah, not saying I'm a bad putting coach, but when you start losing a bit of confidence and those greens are super quick, it's
No, no,
hard to kind of grab it back.
Paige, it's okay. I'm a shit putter. And you know why? Because I spend 90% of my life on the range. This week was the most amount in my life I've actually given as a percentage wise short game to full swing lessons. Like,
Wow.
putting lessons, I think it's one every when people book it in online on through my booking system, it's possibly one every 50 is a putting lesson.
What? I do a lot of putting lessons.
We must steer them in there, right? Maybe because everyone knows I'm a shit putter.
Maybe. I'm a great putter. It just hasn't been working lately. So,
Yeah. So, all right, I want to talk a bit more about your playing because it's an interesting one there. You played on the China tour. It's what you call the LPGA China tour.
yep.
What you played 1 year?
1 year, yeah. And I was going into my second, and then COVID hit.
Yeah, and you said to me before the podcast that COVID didn't come at a good time. And if you're listening to this podcast, can you just let me know when COVID did come at a good time for anyone? That'd be fantastic. Just write it down below. Actually, Paige, I loved COVID. It suited me and my family really well.
Well, the lockdown, we actually were talking about it this week, my partner and I. We're like, you know what? Be nice to go back into lockdown for at least like a month. Just we don't realize how good it was just to do
Mm,
nothing.
yes.
So
And you know what though, Paige? That was an opportunity for us to kind of look at our lifestyle, right?
correct.
And
We're
get
too
things in
fast
order.
paced.
Every single person said, "Oh, I loved it because it slowed me down." Well, guess what? Everyone's fucking busy again. You know,
Oh yeah. Yeah.
everyone's gotten busy again, and they just forgot. Like it was like a year ago, you were stoked you weren't busy, and now you're busy again, and you're stoked. It's as my mentor would say, being busy is a crime.
Yeah,
Being
right.
busy is a crime. Alrighty. So tell me, 1 year in China, what's that like?
It was interesting because, you had to deal with the culture barrier.
Hmm.
The food was different. Like even the climate and stuff, there's some really polluted kind of places. So trying to get used to the air quality. So the first 6 months, I would say in China, I was really just trying to deal with the environment and try and get it
Mm,
used to playing like in a country that we were always situated in areas that wasn't they weren't well they didn't speak English, so
yeah.
it was just hard to get around. The tournament people were awesome because they all spoke English, like all the tournament heads of the tournament and all that. But yeah, it was just different because different food. So you might wake up one day and feel really sluggish because something didn't agree with
Yeah.
you, or
Yeah.
just
I
like
agree.
playing. We actually played in Wuhan, where COVID came from, only about 2 months before COVID came out. So I actually came back from playing my first year extremely sick at the start of December. And my dad actually thought I had COVID. So we didn't know really about COVID at this time. So I went to
Mm.
Wuhan and it was really polluted. And
The epicenter of the vid.
yeah, so maybe I'm the number one case or whatever they call it. Bring it back to Australia so you guys can blame me. Um, no, but in all seriousness, it was an awesome tour. I think it's
Mm.
a really good stepping stone for people that they don't actually think about
Yeah.
when they're younger to like go on to bigger tours. So that was my
Where,
goal, to kind of step
where do you
up.
step from? Where does it go? So it's LPGA. Is that LPGA Tour America or?
Well, no, so it didn't have any like ranking to if you finished, top three or whatever to get on a bigger
Okay.
tour at this point. But I mean, like getting tournament exposure is really difficult in Australia. So if you can't make it on the European tour or the LPGA tour straight away, it's really
Mm.
you know, good to play somewhere that has regular tournaments to get that tournament feel, to then get that
Yeah.
experience to move forward. Because I think the jump from amateur to pro is quite extreme, and I don't think people really realize that when they're trying to
Yeah.
be a professional.
And it's like as well. Like I work with a few players in America who keep trying to Monday queue at events, and one of them said to me, "Oh, I'm not playing very well." I'm like, "Hang on, you haven't shot over par in a Monday queue. For
Mm,
last month, you need to go play in some events. Go play some lower tier events to get 4 rounds in. And just
yeah,
get some tournament. But you're just playing like a midweek comp each Monday, trying to get into these events. So
yeah,
and what were the courses like? Were they well looked after?
yeah. They're pretty mint.
Were they really? That's cool.
Yeah, they're pretty good. So, yeah, we're pretty lucky to have the conditions and the courses we had. The Chinese tour absolutely loved having us over there. There was only 3 Caucasians on the tour, so the sponsors absolutely loved it, and they go like next level for their tournaments.
Oh,
Like
that's
they
good.
just absolutely love it. Do big like dinners, and yeah, it's pretty cool.
That actually I do. My friend Adam Groom used to play it on the Asian tour years and years and years ago. And he was the same. He was all their media stuff, big, tall, handsome, blonde. So I think they used him for all that, until
Yeah,
it became more like obviously, the Asian tour is probably full of 50-50 these days of
yeah,
internationals.
definitely.
So you're at Castle Hill Golf Club now.
I am at Castle Hill Country Club, actually,
Oh,
Toby.
sorry.
The country
Okay.
club.
Castle Hill. Castle Hill is a golf club that's wanted to be. I come from private golf club background as well. I was at Eleanor Country Club and Manly Golf Club.
Ah,
Yeah, yeah. So
wait, you're from Sydney?
well, I was from down the south coast down here, but I did my traineeship up there and
Right,
spent a
right.
lot of time up there. And I did play a lot at Castle Hill. It's a championship course, I think the word they would say.
Yes.
And is it semi-private?
It's nearly fully private, I believe.
Okay.
Yeah, we're like pretty jam packed with members. There's a
Yeah.
wait list. Yeah. So I don't really I just get people into joining. It's like they get
Yeah.
lessons from me and they're like, hey, how cool is this course? And then they get into it. So
Oh, that's cool.
yeah.
People talk about coaches should be getting a kick for that, right?
Yeah, actually, I was thinking that yesterday. It's funny that you say that. Should get a
Mm.
little bit of something to get more members in. I haven't really approached the club, but
Yeah.
maybe that's a sign I should because you just mentioned it.
Well, we are assets to the business, right? We are
Yeah,
assets
I agree.
to the business.
Yeah.
I like that country club, Toby. Country club. I'll remember that one. I'm gonna call my friend. So the director of golf there, right, is Mr. Stephen Gannon,
Yeah.
and he's an old friend of mine. We did my traineeship together, And I'm gonna send him a text saying, "How's Castle Hill Golf Club going, Stephen?"
And
See what
let's
he
see
says.
if he replies back. It's country club, Toby.
So tell me, how did you? So what was the transition like from? So you went from tour pro to playing. Oh, sorry, to coaching.
Yep.
And that was that kind of, would you say, originally forced upon due to COVID?
I don't think it was forced upon. Like I was saying before, I kind of fell into it. So COVID hit, and I was like, okay, well, maybe mid-year we'll go back to China and play. I just didn't really know how long it was going to stick around for. Like, obviously, none
Mm,
of us knew that. So I just had friends and family friends go, oh, well, you're around. I really need a golf lesson. Like, can you help me out?
yeah.
So I started going down to Dural driving range, which is just a small
Ah,
driving range in Dural,
yeah.
and giving some lessons. And next minute, I was like, wow, I'm pretty good at this.
Yes.
Like, I know that sounds really like up myself, but I was like,
Yeah,
wow,
no,
I
you're allowed to have
really,
confidence.
yeah, I was like, I'm really good at this. I'm really good at explaining things so simply coming from a tour professional.
Mm,
And I loved it. Like, I felt really fulfilled. So I was like,
it is.
okay. So COVID stuck around, and then I actually kind of called Jeremy Ward at Oatlands Golf Club,
Hmm.
because I don't know if you know Jeremy,
Yes.
great guy. Um, and said, oh, that my old school was down the road, and I approached the school saying, can I do some golf lessons for the girls, because I'd really love to get golf into a girls' school. And so I called them, Oatlands, to see if I could use their facility. Next minute, 2 months later, they offer me a full-time coaching role without having my PGA accreditation yet. But I was going to then get into my PGA accreditation. So
Yeah.
then, yeah, did my transition for 1 year, and now I'm at Castle Hill Country Club. So I did my first year at Oatlands.
Oh, that's
Yeah.
cool. Well, Oatlands is a nice place too, right?
Yeah, it is good. It's pretty close by. I'm very lucky to live very close proximity to both those courses. So
Oh, are they close to each other, are they?
they're about 20 minutes apart. Yeah.
Oh, wow. Cool. I just
Yeah.
remember playing Oatlands, you had to hit it right to left off the tee. I felt like everything just wanted to go
Yeah.
right to left. And I just
Yeah.
hit this baby fade all day and just giving it the old lean every shot, trying to get it to go around the corner. I could never get it going. So I guess for you as well, like one of the things I want to talk to you about is not only the transition from tour pro to coaching. I think, people have heard that story a lot. And, I had Scotty Gardner on the podcast recently and he kind of shared it. But I want to share it from a point of view of how you consumed your instruction, and you can talk as long as as long as you need, right? And like how you perceived, like how you got your instruction to then how you transitioned into being a golf coach, and then how you deliver your instruction.
That's a very big question. Right. So you're saying my instruction from my coach, or how I learned, and then how I'm now delivering that. Is that
Yeah,
what
well,
you're?
obviously, you turned into a great player, right? And
Mhm.
you're still a good player,
Mhm.
and you got there through some instruction, right? And
Yeah.
then some people get there through all different types of ways. And I think a lot of people in today's day and age, with how they receive, what they're seeing on Instagram and all this type of instruction, that they need to be overcoached or whatever needs to
Mhm.
happen. So I'm kind of interested to see how you learnt as a player to now how you coach.
Yeah. So I was pretty lucky. I had a coach in Godlyman. He basically took me under his wings 7 years ago. And we met at Victorian Open, actually. It was kind of a sliding doors moment. I just became coachless. If that sounds, I know it sounds funny, but I became coachless,
Yeah.
and I was really struggling with consistency in my game. So I was a really good player, but every time I play a tournament, I would snap hook it for days. Like, I'm telling you, it was the scariest thing standing on the tee, because I either blocked it hard right or snap hooked it left. And I'm like, why is this happening under pressure?
Mm.
So anyway, he was in a practice round with me. And he just mentioned something to my dad. He goes, I don't want to get involved, but I really see something that's, could be affecting her. Next minute, we started working together full time and relearned the whole game. Now,
Mm.
relearning the whole game from scratch was really challenging, because he basically said, everything that you've learnt, throw it out the window. We're starting from fresh. So I started that journey 7 years ago, but it's made me realize We do overcomplicate golf a lot of the time. And I think if we don't have a good understanding of the golf swing and our golf game and why we play certain shots, then it can make it really difficult because people tend to overthink it.
Mm.
So,
Yeah.
long story short, I guess he taught me to become my own golf coach.
Mm.
And that is definitely something that I use in my coaching now, is trying to teach people why they hit certain shots and be able to analyze a certain shot and go, okay, it's either X or Y.
Yeah.
And what are the two drills that Paige has said if I'm really struggling X and Y to do?
Yeah.
So I definitely try and keep it as simple as possible, because everyone has their tendencies in golf. Like, everyone has something we go back on. Like you just said before, Toby, why do I still flip it?
Yes.
Everyone has something that they always struggle with. So
Yeah.
if you can understand the shot shape and why that ball is doing the thing it's doing, you can kind of correct it much quicker than searching on YouTube, or,
Yeah.
you know what I mean? Because then it
Yeah.
could just affect it even more.
Yeah, so I understand what you're talking about. Like, I'll often share, everyone's got their DNA issue, right? So, and it doesn't go away. Tiger gets it stuck under.
Mhm.
Like, everyone's got their issue that they've been fighting for. I got a shut club face and a strong right hand grip, does my head in. But
Yeah. I'm a little
so,
backed up. Yep.
yeah.
I seem to struggle to clear sometimes. That's
So
my
when
thing.
Paige was talking about she had the hooks and the blocks when she played, and she said backed up then, she's talking about, for the golfer listening, that she probably was going to an excessive trail side bend through the ball. So you're kind of bending into your trail side.
Yeah.
And then that can shift the path right. And
Mm-hmm.
then if you shift the path to the right-hand side of the right-hand golfer, you're going to start putting right to left spin on the ball. And then how Paige delivered the face or gear effect on the wood would even determine what shot shape she got. So
Mm-hmm.
that's obviously toe is going to be a big hook with the driver out of the
Yeah.
hill. It's just she's walking right or she's getting another ball out of her pocket. So, but that's what a lot of good players do. A lot of good
Yeah.
players move that way. That's the first thing I'd say, is that tour players, not all, sorry, I shouldn't generally say that, but generally a lot of them will move into trail side bend too much and hook it,
Mm-hmm.
because you can be really good hooking it, because it's a strong way to move. As Mr. Ben Hogan says, like, learn to slice it from a hook golf swing, and you'll be really good.
Mm.
But for you, so what you've done with your coaching is that you really want everyone to own it. You want everyone to understand what they do.
Yeah, like as soon as they're walking out my door or from my lesson,
Yeah.
I want them to clearly understand what they're working on and I always go through, okay, so in the lesson, say they hit a certain shot, they block it to the right. Okay,
Yeah.
so for an example, Toby, why do you think it's gone right? So I really kind of question them in their lessons for them to learn, because that's how I learn. I always,
Yeah.
you know, question, okay, why did I do that? Right, that's that. So what's a drill to fix that?
Mm-hmm.
So they have such a clear understanding when they leave my lesson of, why they're hitting certain shots. If they hit it on the course, maybe in your practice swing, do one of those feels in that swing. And I'm very big on feels, because I
Yeah.
don't want technique on the course. So we try and grab a technical aspect, turn it into a feel or
Yeah.
a feeling for them to take on the course, because that's the best way to transition the swing to the golf course.
Yeah. So, and then do you get them to take like one feel out onto the golf course, or if they've hit a certain shot, then to start working on a feel? Or
So I would say, so basically, I only want people to walk out of a lesson with 1 to 2 things
yeah.
max to be thinking of, which you understand is the best thing. But because overload is a killer.
It's
But no,
hard.
on the course, it's like, okay, so you're going to play with this feel, because I think this feel is the one that's achieving the most greatness in this lesson. But if you start doing that feel on the course and it's not achieving, then let's try feel number 2.
Yeah.
So there is a little bit of trial and error in golf, and I think that's what a lot of people don't realize, is that the feeling you get from one lesson might be the feeling for tomorrow, but it might not be the feeling for the next day. It's like you need to trial and error. And I think as tour professionals, we trial and error all the time,
Yeah.
and we always have certain things we always come back to. So I think that's super important because I think people want the answer tomorrow.
Yeah.
And unfortunately, the answer comes with a little bit more work. Like I would say 4 months minimum of really doing the work, you'll start to get that really natural feeling rather than trying to force it.
Yeah, that it'll start to become, I guess, more subconscious.
Yeah.
And the feeling of, like, I even had a lesson yesterday with a lady, or the day before, so, and she was standing about 14 feet away from the ball. And I said to her, get in a bit closer, get in closer, get in closer. And she said, oh my God, I feel so cramped. 10 balls later, I said, do you still feel cramped? She goes, no.
Yeah.
So, well, there you go. I said, I
Yeah.
care about your feelings, but unfortunately, I have to kind of ignore these feelings for now. But it's
Yeah.
you made an interesting comment there around tour pros aren't afraid to run a bit of trial and error. Now, another term I would use there is potentially a tour pro isn't afraid to, I guess, use the term experimentation. So, like, say for Paige, right, your uh, divot was potentially going right. I'm assuming your swing direction was going right when you're hanging back and hitting the big paths, right, to the right, big hooks. Then, your goal is to essentially make that divot go left, right,
Hmm.
with a square club face.
Hmm.
Where, I think if a pro explained that to you well and said to you, look, your divot's going straighter now, Paige. You might hit the duck hook because your release pattern is still hooky, but your divot's
Yeah.
going straighter. And you go, oh, great, that's great to know. And I feel like the tour pro is really happy to experiment there, but the recreational golfer is not. Oh my God, that feels so uncomfortable.
Yeah.
It's not going to work for me.
Mm.
Why do you think a lot of people are so resistant to that? Why do you think the recreational golfer is? It's a pretty deep
That's
question.
a very deep question. I gotta watch what I say. No, I'm joking.
No, that's good.
I think people are resistant to change in general because
Mm,
change feels uncomfortable.
yeah.
And I think patience is a really important thing to talk about because
Mm,
if it doesn't work on the first round that you play, then you kind of go back to your old ways. But I think it's just that patience, persistence um, with amateur golfers that sometimes they don't have it because they're like, oh, it's too hard or it's going
yeah.
to take too long. Whereas a tour pro, it's like that's their life. Like,
And they got all day to do it, right?
correct, exactly. And amateur golfers don't have all day to practice,
Mm,
and but that's when being a good coach is trying to find ways for them to practice 20 minutes, 40 minutes a week rather than having to grind 40 minutes a day with
yeah.
appropriate drills for them to see a result pretty quickly. Does that make
Yeah.
sense?
Yeah,
But
no, I agree. But
I
do
think,
you
yeah.
would you leave someone, so when you said that you give them their two feels, do you would you tell them potentially about what they could expect from their ball flight throughout the training?
Yeah, so yeah, definitely. I think one thing I always talk to people about is to disregard the ball strike when you're working on something at
Mm,
the start because you
yeah.
might be swinging really well, but your timing's slightly off.
Yeah.
So, you know, it looks pretty good, but yeah, it's not flighting as well because, your
Mm,
timing's off or whatever. I think I'm really a big person to try and just calm them down in the sense of stop being so obsessed with the ball strike. Like you can get away with thinning it. Like you can thin it to win it. And that's something that I learned as a tour
in the
pro.
way.
I remember my coach always getting frustrated with me because I was such a perfectionist. And every shot I'd hit, I would expect this perfection, this
Mm,
amazing strike. And I used to get really frustrated at myself and really kind of like down because that's just who I am. I'm a bit of
yeah.
a perfectionist, which I've learned to try and fix. But I
Yes.
see that in my players. It's like I know how it feels when you don't hit a perfect strike, but I need them to understand that you can get away with thinning it. Like you
Yeah.
can't get away with flubbing it. Like you
Yeah.
can't get away with hitting it heavy. So
Yeah.
um, yeah, I think that's an important point. If anyone's listening, like when you're going through change, you might have to play a few weeks hitting it slightly thin, and you're not flushing it, but that's still okay. Like
Yeah, as
it's
long as they can measure it, right? Like if
yeah,
they can measure it in a way of, when you hit your really good shot, let's say for the slicer, it's not going to slice as much, and it'll be a shot that you've never actually hit before.
Yeah.
And so because any time that you change a technique or make any change, timing goes out the window, right? Timing
Yeah.
is gone.
100% because it
So
feels uncomfortable.
they got to learn to measure it. But I think what's really important to us as coaches is that we've got to manage their expectations too, right? And
Yeah, and I think that's sometimes the hardest thing as a coach is like
mm,
trying to tell them it's going to be okay. And you can kind of see, I think as a coach, you can see, their progression and how far they've come, but the results haven't started happening. So trying
yeah,
to have that positive reinforcement and stuff to try and keep them going, I think
yeah,
is really important because I'm sure you do the same. It's always like,
yeah,
it's okay, like you're so close, just keep pushing at it. But I know when you're in that situation, it's sometimes hard, because you don't see the results yet. And then next minute they come back like with the smiling face, oh, I had 40 points today. And I was like,
yeah,
see, you just had to keep persisting with the
yeah.
change. So,
It does. And people, people who are listening, like change, it's not fucking easy.
oh
It's
God, no,
hard. It's
really
really
hard.
hard. And I've been working on stuff for ages within my golf swing. And, you need to have a coach. If you want to make any change, right, you need to have a coach. And the most important thing to do is to work backwards, right? Like,
Mm,
what's my goal here? My goal is to lower my score. Then how am I going to lower my score? Let's look at stats. Is it through technique? Then how's my ball flight going to change through technique? Not just making a change for the sake of it, because you could just go through pain for no reason, right?
yep.
And that's yeah, it's
It
and
is hard. It's so hard. I'm
but
still working on things and I'm a pretty
mm,
good golfer. Like
mm,
we're always working on things. Like Tiger Woods is still working on things. We
yeah,
all have something we are working on and it will never ever be perfect.
yeah,
And there's one saying I keep saying to my clients or my students or however you want to say it.
I say
Um,
students.
don't strive for consistency, like, because I don't think there is ever 100% consistency in your game. You're just going to strive for better bad shots. And if we can hit better bad shots more often than not, you're
Yeah,
going to improve. So I think everyone comes into my lesson going, oh, I just really want to be consistent. And I just say straight up, mate, that's not realistic.
every
You're
day.
never going to walk off the course extremely happy, or you're always going to walk off going, I could have done this better. So if you just strive for a better bad shot, 9 times out of 10, you'll be playing better golf.
Yeah,
So
every day. I say to people all the time, it's the longest word I can spell, consistency, because it's fucking everyone asks me for it.
I
Um,
know if I had $1, I'd be a bloody billionaire.
yeah, yeah. It's. Anyways, that's yeah. For people listening, there, when us coaches make those kind of jokes around consistency, it's based upon the fact that evidence shows us that I've got a thing from when the Masters, a document somewhere, and it shows you that like the top 10 players in the world, there was a dispersion of 9 shots between them in each round. So if Rory McIlroy's having 9 shot difference between a round, if you go 36 points, 26 points in Stableford format,
Mm,
that's just normal. It's
yeah,
just normal because we're swinging a golf club, right, coming into the ball, the golf club when it is at shaft parallel to the ground just before impact, it's about 70 degrees open to the ball. Right, you got to close that thing 70 degrees through rotation, hands, whatever it is, and then just past that at club shaft parallel to the ground again, it's 90 degrees turned over pretty much. So you're dealing with a club head that is turning over 160 degrees in like point zero something of a second.
yeah, it's quick.
Far out. And I got to try and manage people's golf games with that. So what you're telling me, right, is that so back to that conversation around the transitioning from the tour pro. So for you, was it beneficial to you to have ownership of your game after you met Ian?
100% it was.
Yeah, and you perform better. You perform better straight up, like
100%.
yeah,
Yeah, like to this prime example, right? And I'm made the cut last week at the Aussie
yeah,
Open. I I played probably in the 6 weeks leading up to that. I played 12 times, so that's a lot. But I was doing that outside of my 45 hours of coaching a week.
crushing.
No wonder I'm sick right now. But I hardly hit balls. I hardly do
Mm,
chipping, but I know my game inside and out. I know how to get the ball on the face and how to control flight, all from my knowledge of the golf swing. So
yeah,
I Like that's pretty incredible. Like if you think about it, like
It's
my
bananas.
the
I can't
last
believe you made the cut.
the last 3 years I've done next to no practice. I used to
Yeah.
practice 8 hours a day, 6 days a week, and now I've done nothing for 3 years really, and I just know how to get it done, and that's all because I became my own golf coach.
Yeah, and I really like where you're coming from with that because, I use the term DNA a lot, that I talk about people with their DNA pattern. And what you're saying, even in your coaching that you do, is that you give people their exercise and their feel. And that doesn't change as a macro because it's their issue, right? It's just
Mhm.
tweaking that along the way
Yeah,
and making changes to their feel as their feel changes through.
yeah,
And then people gain confidence in that, right? They can say, I did this when Paige told me, and I'm flushing it now,
yeah,
and I'm going to go back to it and still work on that same thing without kind of chopping and changing.
yeah. I think that's why I've become quite successful quite quickly in my
Mm.
short amount of time of coaching is I keep it really simple, and I really like obviously using Skillist as well. After
Mm.
every lesson I give them their notes and videos and whatnot, so we know what they're working on. But I don't change something every lesson.
Yeah,
I might just keep grinding on the same thing, but
yeah,
change the way we think about it or change the way we feel about it. You know
mm.
what I mean? And I think
Yeah,
that's what a good coach is. It's not like throwing one thing one week and then a totally different thing the next week.
yeah, yeah.
That
No,
poor
yeah,
player is not going to know how to hit the ball.
yeah. Well, you're not diagnosing the issue, right? Sean Foley
Yeah.
said that about when we had him on for a chat, like Justin Rose, Lydia Ko. Like, what do you work on Justin Rose? Same shit last 10 years. What do you work on Lydia Ko? Same shit last 4 years. Just different
Hmm.
message, same
Yeah.
thing. So, all right. So let's talk a little bit about um, your mindset coaching. Obviously, you carry and I am not confusing this with arrogance, right? You are an extremely confident person. The way that
Thank you.
you share in the way that you, I guess, share your information as well. Tell me, where did this all come from? This confidence. Did you have this as a young child? The little 12-year-old girl chipping around the green.
I didn't even play golf at 12.
Oh yeah, so didn't I. I don't know why I said 12, but 12 will do. where,
I
where
was
did the confidence come from? Tell me.
no, I think it's I've always been a confident girl, I guess, from when I was really young. So
Yeah,
I was always, the lead in a musical on the stage. I was
nice,
always running for school captain.
nice.
I just think it's a bit of a personality trait in me.
Mm,
I'm
yeah,
just very bubbly and happy and love life. And if
and
someone tries to put me down, yeah, I might be mopey for 3 seconds, but then I'm kind of like, fuck them. Let's try
yeah,
and
fuck 'em.
prove them
Yeah,
wrong. So I think, yeah, my mum and dad always said I was just this bubbly, happy, confident person, like just love life. And I think if you love life, you're a bit more confident in
so
things.
I agree, and I tell you what, I saw a photo of you and your parents at the Aussie Open. I can tell you're fucking got exactly the same smile as your parents. Like exactly, you wouldn't even get your passport out going through the airport if you just like, yeah, yeah, you're all together. Just go,
Yeah, yeah.
just
Keep
go.
going. Yeah,
Um,
I'm very blessed to have the parents I have. Like they've always been super confident and very supportive in achieving whatever you want to achieve and the goals you want to achieve. Like even now, like we were talking before this session, like I've got goals for next year
yeah,
in business and coaching, and like my parents are 100% behind me. So I think you gain confidence from your support as well. Like if you've got people behind you going, go for it. Like what do you got to
yeah.
lose? So
So
yeah.
this is obviously switched into a little bit of like specialist mindset kind of that you put into your coaching.
Mm.
When you say that you do mindset coaching or whatever, what does that mean?
Um, well, that's a good question. Like, I think just trying to help people understand, like, why they think certain ways or
Yeah.
why they, yeah, like, even just sometimes in life, like, some people talk to me in lessons about things in their life and just trying to give them a better perspective and go, like, that's completely normal to be feeling like
Mm,
that. But let's just try and re-switch. Not saying I've done a psychology degree. I'm not a psychologist, but I'm really passionate about positive reinforcement and feedback and how we talk to ourselves. And look, I'm still working on my mindset.
yeah.
Like I'm currently seeing a psychologist to just try and improve my mindset a little bit. Um, so like I don't have the right answer, but I definitely know my journeys helping other people with their mindset because I've been through all the same things people are going through.
Yeah.
But it's like you just got to think about it in a more positive way or realistic way. Like, yeah, you feel like shit sometimes, but like it is what
Yeah.
it is. I don't know if that answered the question.
No,
Probably
you
not.
did. You did. Oh, mate, it's a tough one to answer. And even Mr. Butch Harmon, he says that I was listening to a podcast once and someone said, "Do you teach golf?" And he said, "No, no, no, I teach people golf." So he kind of just it was an interesting way of kind of looking at it where
Mm,
he teaches each individual person. So with the mindset stuff, like one of the things that's always been a little bit funny with me and through my studies, right? I lived in India. Like I spent a lot of time. Yeah, I was yeah, I was a hippie, and I was never coming home. I was actually at the Dalai Lama's residence of one of his teachings. I was there for
oh
three
wow.
days. Yeah. So tell me a little bit about so not performance based stuff, just more living kind of type of stuff, spiritual life. Tell me about if someone is nervous on the first tee.
Mm.
And I mentioned to you, like, do you think about shanking it or whatever? Do you think when you talk to them about mindset? So if someone come to you and said, "Paige, I'm playing the club championships, and after the third round, I was so nervous on the first tee." When they get, how do you tell them to approach that? Do you tell them just to accept it or block it out and just pretend, or what do you do?
No, I definitely tell them one, that's awesome to be feeling like that because it means you
Yeah.
care. Two, you need to accept the feelings and kind of use it as a way to get the job done. Like, so if you, like you said, to ignore it, if you ignore it, I reckon it turns more anxious. So the nervousness
Mm.
turns more stress, anxious, because you're like, oh my God, I shouldn't be feeling like this. Oh my God, I got to hit a shot now. And oh, there's water down the right. And it like builds, it like compounds into this big anxiousness. Whereas if you go, man, I'm nervous. Fuck, how exciting is this? This is
Yeah.
so exciting. I'm nervous because I care. I'm in the third round of the club champs. Like, live in the moment.
Yeah.
Bring it all
Yeah.
in.
Yeah.
Accept the feeling and then tell the feeling if the thought comes in your head, oh, I'm going to shank it or whatever. Just go, okay, I have I actually have a girl called Beatrice, right? So when Beatrice comes in, she goes, oh, you shit. Oh, you're going to shank it. Remember last time you played this hole, you blocked it into the water? So that's Beatrice. So I really disassociate.
Oh, that's someone that comes into your mind.
Yeah, that's me.
Ah, sorry. I thought it was a student of yours, and I'm thinking, shit, this lady must be old. I haven't heard that name for a long time.
No, so I've called her Beatrice, and
Oh
that's my
no.
voice that I don't agree with. That's the voice where it's telling me I'm not good enough. That's the voice that on the tee you're going to hit a shank. So I try and disassociate that voice and say, okay, Beatrice, I understand you're saying that. However, this is what I'm going to do. And then when I talk to Beatrice, it actually like calms those feelings down. You know what I
Yeah.
mean?
Yeah.
So
When you
I
accept it.
remember playing a lot of tournaments and it's like a massive, it's just like a massive head fuck, excuse
Yeah.
the French, but
No,
it's
you're
like
right.
you go through a tournament and you're drained afterwards because you're just fighting that voice
Yeah.
all the time. But
Yeah.
the more you get used to talking back to it and telling it what you're going to do, you actually get better at it.
Mm,
So the
mm,
nerves, I think, to answer your question, I think you need to accept them and just be in the moment, be like, how cool is this? Like, this is
mm.
cool. And
Yeah.
then just go back to your process of like, what am I going to do? Where am I going to aim? And then just focus on the shot you're going to hit.
Mm.
But if you don't accept it,
Yeah.
that's
I
where
think a lot of people who are listening to this who might be the club golfer, right, Paige, they haven't felt those for a long time. So they've just kind of all of a sudden, once a year, they get the club championships and they just get nervous. They haven't had that since they were a child or, or whatever. Like, so it's unusual to them.
yeah, it's
So
hard.
what you're saying as well is how I could probably explain it in my words as well is I think as soon as you surrender to it and you kind
Mm,
of go, like, it's like anything. Like when you tell your wife something, "Oh, glad I got that off my chest. I feel better now."
yeah.
And if you do that same thing with nerves, you're saying that it gives you a better opportunity to perform, right?
Hmm. Well, I don't think that when you surrender to it, the nerves are going to go away.
No.
They're still there, but I think you're a little bit more in touch with them. And it's like, okay, well, you're there and let's try and get the job done together.
Yeah.
Like at the Aussie Open, I was so nervous over my first tee shot, like so nervous. Like
I couldn't even think about hitting it. No
I'm
way.
like, how am I going to take this club back? Like, these are the things that are going over my head in the
Oh
point. I don't
no.
know how many seconds we're standing on the tee,
Yeah.
but I'm like, yeah, I was thinking, don't shank it or don't, like, I had a wood in my hand, but I was like, yeah, don't top it because I've hit a few tops in my life. So I'm like,
Mm.
don't top it.
Of course you
And I
would.
was like, nah, mate, let's use this. Let's fucking drive the green.
Yeah.
It
Yeah.
was a drivable par four, but I'm like, I had to just kind of accept and go, you know what, I'm going to use it. And man, I pumped it. I always pump it when I
Yeah.
try and accept it
Yeah.
rather than let it overtake me and
It's
overwhelm me.
oh yeah, it's I can just feel it. I was there caddying last week from and I'll never caddy again. Like in saying that, I call myself a good I've actually got a caddy coming on this week too, but I actually call myself I'm a good horse trainer, not a caddy, not a jockey, you know.
There you
Like
go.
I'd rather be the trainer than being out there with you guys. I want to clean my hands of it. As soon as you get on the tee, nothing to do
It's
with
all
you.
up to you.
It's all
You do
up
it.
to you.
Yeah.
So, all right. So that's a piece of mindset kind of gold there as well. And what about, I guess into someone's training as well, right? Like they've got to go with the mindset of they've got to have the expectations they're going to hit shit shots and how to measure their expectations, right?
Yeah, I think that's the hardest thing. Like we all have too high of expectations, I reckon, of what we can achieve. I don't know. I just think like accepting you're going to hit some bad shots, but like how are you going to get out of that bad position?
Yeah.
Um, yeah, I think I'm still working on that today. Like my expectations of me being a golf coach, like I have these really broad goals, and it's like, yeah, like just take one step at a time rather than trying to achieve the result now. Like just
Mm.
focus on the process. And I think that's the same with everyone playing golf, like trying to change their swing. Well, let's just try and have little goals to like meet that big goal rather than trying to just get that big goal straight away. Because I think that's when our expectations are too high and then the pressure's too much. And then
Yeah.
there's a downward spiral from there.
What about and what about a pre-shot routine? Do you have anything that you talk to yourself within a pre-shot routine?
Yeah,
What
definitely.
what do you what does Paige want to say to yourself? Not what Beatrice says. What does Paige say to herself?
I think I'm just like confirming that, you can hit this shot.
Yeah.
But really, I think when you're in the flow of things, you don't really need to think about anything.
Yeah.
But I think and freedom in your game is the hardest thing to achieve. And you're going to have snippets of it. I had a snippet of it at the Aussie Open where literally everything felt so easy. I find my brain gets in the way of my golf.
Yeah.
So when I'm just really calm, really just thinking happy, positive things during the round, then my pre-shot routine has less cloudiness.
Yeah.
Like really focused on the target. So
Yeah.
I think the important thing to have a clear pre-shot routine is like having the surrounding part outside of that
Mm.
like solid, if that makes sense. So like
Yeah.
obviously we know we need to focus, we need to analyze, the lie, we need to analyze our target, we need all those things, but we don't have that. I have to be really happy and laughing and talking with my caddy outside of that for my pre-shot routine to actually flow.
Okay.
Because otherwise I overthink and then Beatrice comes in.
Stinking thinking, man. Stinking thinking. And it's for people, I want to ask you about some feels as well. Yeah, I'm going to quiz you on a couple of feels, but um, for me, like the too much technical thinking on the golf course means there's less thinking about execution, right?
Mm,
And you got your hands, you got your eyes, or you're thinking away from the target, and the more percentages you're taking away from that, then the less chance you are at executing a good shot. But
100%.
when you were talking about feels there before, Paige, about taking some feels to the golf course,
Mm.
and basically what I like about those, right, is it's not so much a measurement. It's kind of just moving and flowing in a certain way, and you don't have to kind of measure it to see if I'm doing it right. It's not like I'm assuming, is my trail arm bent 90 degrees? Is my lead wrist inflection? It's kind of more like a movement thing.
Oh
Yeah.
yeah. That's just way too much. What you just said is just way too much.
I got over 100
Not
books.
very technical.
Oh, I'm not very technical. I know a lot about the golf coach. That's why I
Yeah.
coach 10 coaches how to swing the golf club, right? That's what I do. I have
Yeah.
a mentor program. I teach coaches the ins and outs of the golf swing. But tell me, and I have 100 books behind you, right? I'm just looking at a big stack. It's nearly hitting the garage door roof. But
Nice.
tell me about some feels. What would be a generic feel? Say for someone who like hooks it. So let's say in your case, right, you moved into a lot of trail side bend, so your right
Mhm.
shoulder for a right-handed golfer was low to the ball at
Mhm.
impact. What's something that a person who does that should carry to the golf course?
I so I really love the feet together swing
Mm-hmm.
to try and get the body feeling more rotation rather than that big tilt and then just calming the hands. So
Mm.
I would get them to do but the thing is, this is the scary thing about people that do that and then try and start to get their body working because their hands are so used to flipping it or
Mm.
shutting down. If they try and turn and then shut down their hands, they're going to hit a bigger snap hook.
Mm-hmm.
So I would try and feel more rotation and kind of keep the face open a little bit.
Yeah.
So in your practice swing, doing a feet together swing, feeling a lot of rotation with the body and keeping those hands feeling like held off
Yeah.
rather than letting them shut down.
Yeah. That's it. That's actually, it's one I don't use enough. So what Paige is saying there, right, is, I'll just kind of reaffirm it. So if you move in a lot of trail side bend, right, your right side's getting low. If your feet are close together and you try and get into side bend into the ball,
Fall over.
you'll fall over, right? You'll fall on Paige's track, man. And when she talks about flipping the hand, so when you lean back right through the ball, go into that right side bend, your path is shifted to the right, which would cause you have to have your club face closed a little bit more to that. So that's where the term, I guess, flip comes into it, which can be a bit vague. I think everyone flips the club, but that helps you draw the ball back. So that's the two variables you're dealing with. So what Paige is saying, that when you get your feet close together and you can't lean back, then you're going to still have a similar release pattern, right? And you're going to hit boomerangs left. Just make sure the people on the houses on the left that have got their windows shut, because you're coming indoors. So then when you talk about feeling more open, you just want to feel that potentially have the club face, like I always say the heel is winning the race to the ball.
Yeah.
Yeah, so the heel's winning the race to the ball. So then would you have like them doing like a hold off finish for that to kind of potentially measure that at the
Yeah,
same time?
I would feel like definitely I would feel a little bit more like the grip of the club is leading the club head a little bit
Ah,
more.
that's a good
It's
one.
trying to hold that off, like holding off meaning like either
Yeah.
feeling a little bit like your wrist is kind of not able to extend. Is that extend? Yeah,
Flexion.
yeah,
That's okay.
flexion.
Yeah.
All right, we're all still learning here,
That's
guys.
okay. It's okay.
So trying to hold it like
Yeah.
keep the grip of the club in front of the club face and club head as long as you
Oh,
can, rather
perfect.
than letting it overtake.
It's perfect. It's absolutely perfect. What happens when you teach that to someone, right, and they start flushing it and then they go, can I widen my stance now? How do you transition from that? Do you kind
Um,
of just slowly get them wider?
yeah, so like I wouldn't say like on the golf course you'd be hitting the ball with your feet together,
No,
but
no.
it's your practice swing. And then yeah, you might not have as wide as you usually have.
Yeah. And okay, so what about a slicer? So let's say for the right-handed golfer, that person we'll generally see a slice where the club is cutting across the ball and the
Yeah.
face is open at the path.
Hmm.
What's a simple feel you got for them?
You want to hit it out to the right.
Yeah. So you want to do what Paige does, right?
Hey, look, I'm better now, Toby. Like my
No,
swing.
well, I'm saying your fault.
No,
Your DNA.
but
Your
yeah,
DNA.
you want to feel like the club the club is coming from behind your body more out to the
Mm,
right instead of allowing it. I feel like people who swing over the top early release the club massively. So
mhm.
trying to feel like the club's a little bit more delayed behind your body to
Yeah.
try and feel like you're hitting it out to mid off. So
Yeah.
I'm really
You
big
know, I feel like
into.
cricket.
I used to be a cricketer. I
Oh,
used to stay
wow. I
cricketer.
love
Yeah.
cricket. I love
Yeah,
cricket.
so I think when even tennis, right? If you want to hit it in the back right corner of the court in your
Yeah.
forehand, you're not going to come across it. So, trying to feel like the club is swinging out to the right, you might even shut your stance a little bit. So have the left foot a little bit
Mm.
closed to try and help that. Because the thing with people is they're scared when they slice it because the ball goes left to right. They're scared to actually swing right because they think it's going to go right. But Like if you hit a little block, it's better than hitting a mad cut. You know what I mean?
It's a
So
it's yeah, it's a difficult one mentally. It sounds very counterintuitive, doesn't it? To swing to the right
yeah,
when the ball goes too far to the right. Hey,
yeah,
you snuck something in there, which I think is something that I've been putting a lot into my coaching of recent as well, because I do a lot of I guess quick fix coaching as well. You know, what I mean quick fixing is that people want an answer, and I can have them hitting the ball pretty quick. And some people are in a program like my online
yep,
coaching.
yep,
And I have a lot of people that travel to come see me. So some days, I have people, come into state or whatever to come hang out with me, and I give them, exercises and drills. But a lot of the time we're dealing with slices, so the club is cutting across the ball. For me, I think we need to get away from that. Your feet need to be lined dead square. I think we need to get away from it, because for me, you said before, right, it takes 4 months to make a change. My friend Stevie Giuliano, he says that it's 20% of the time you've been doing something. That's his.
jeez,
He just made that up on the spot too, and I've been flying with it. So for me, right, if you've been slicing the ball, cutting across the ball for say 10, 15 years, right?
mm,
Stevie Giuliano says that could be, crap, here we go, 4 years, maybe 5 years to fix it. So if you put your right foot back, what's going to happen is the club's going to come on the inside page. Is that what you're saying?
yeah,
The club comes
yeah.
on the
It
inside.
should do. Like it
Yeah.
should do a little bit.
And I've
Yeah,
been doing that, right, for some people coaching, and then that's given them the room to move the club around their body more.
mm,
So the club gets around your body more when your trail foot's back. Now, it does allow still for a little bit of the over top move that you've got from the top, because you've got more room. You got me? So you're still coming in from a deep pattern, and keep that right foot back for a year,
mm,
because it's going to take time for you can't just put your feet back to normal stance straight away. So I've been kind of going with that for a little bit and executing it and putting someone's foot back maybe further and further as time goes on,
yeah,
potentially. I think aiming straight, it's not as important as what people think. Like Mac O'Grady, one of the best ball strikers of all time, he pulls it.
yeah,
He pulls it. So that's a good one, the right foot back. It's a really
yeah.
good one.
Well, even the drill I do with them is I literally get majority of their weight on their left leg and then put the right foot back like near, not like a lunge, but kind of in that formation, a lunge. And they're trying to hit balls with that feeling. And I tell you what, it helps people with a slice massively, because if they go over the top, they fall over. So
Yeah. Yeah.
basically, I just make my people feel like they're going to fall over in
Yeah.
their drills, and then it
Yeah.
makes them correct it.
Yeah. No, I like that. I really do like it. And I think as coaches, we can overcomplicate things and
Mm,
kind of go away from some simple blueprint stuff.
mm,
I think our role as coaches is to find the one thing that can fix six things,
yeah,
and to try and get that right, and not chase perfection. Chasing perfection is a killer, because you can keep working and molding on something as much as you want. Okay, let's do one more feel. So someone is hitting the ball heavy, right?
mm,
And that can be from multiple things.
yep,
Multiple things.
and,
Like that can be a person who is slicing it or a person who is hooking it.
yep. It's their
What?
release
What?
pattern, really.
Yeah, a lot of stuff. Low point issues. Tell
Mm.
me the number one thing that someone can train at home with that. You don't know?
No, let me just brainstorm.
Okay.
Okay. I really think I really love, and I know we've already spoken about it, but I really love feet together.
Yeah.
Okay, like feet together gets the body working better. I
Yeah.
feel like people, when they use more arms and not their body, that's where they get those strike issues a lot.
Yeah. Yeah.
So I've like feet together helps so many things. It helps rotation. It helps sequencing, like the good sequence of the body. So if you start hitting it well, your sequence is right with how your hips and shoulders are moving. It's good at learning to hold the face, because if you shut it down, you're going to hit it left anyway. So I
Yeah.
just think feet together is like, and I use that so much with my juniors. So feet
Mm.
together is, I do like a balance game with my juniors, and feet together and the one with the left foot forward, right foot back lunge is
Yeah.
called open scissors. That's what I call it. And those two are just so good at helping rotation helps balance, it helps sequencing, it helps using your body better rather than allowing your arms to overtake the swing. I just think they're just such good, simple
Yeah.
drills anyone can do to fix a lot of things.
Yeah. And for me as well, like I think an immediate feedback one could be the towel behind the
Oh, yeah.
ball and
Yeah.
just whacking balls and trying to avoid the towel somehow, and
No, I always put like a thing before the ball instead of the towel behind it to try and get people's focus of moving through the ball.
yeah.
So I put a leaf down. I used to use
Hmm.
tees, but I lost too many tees. A leaf down nearly about a foot in front of the ball, and you're trying to actually take the leaf as well. And it gets people
Yeah.
strike more at the ball rather than behind it. So yeah, that's probably one I would do as well. That's
That's
one
a
of
good one.
as
That's a
well.
good one because that's a more positive reinforcement and it's more of a doing, not a not doing type of thing that
Yeah,
I would say
you're
to people.
trying to get the leaf rather than
Mm.
miss the towel.
How I like
So
that one. Yeah, and
you can take it, Toby, if you like.
I was a couple I'm stealing from you, but that's the reason why I like that is because it's not a don't do this. It's a
Let's do this.
yeah.
Yeah,
Let's do this.
let's get through the ball.
All
Yeah.
right. So tell me, right, let's go on deep now, but tell me now about online coaching. When did you jump on board the skills platform?
What are we in December? I think it was like April this year, May.
A- And what do you like about online coaching? Why do you think it's good for the student?
I think it's really good because you get a lot more monitoring
Mm,
when you're online. So you can have your video lesson or whatever you want to do, and then you can go practice it at the range and then send a quick video in and be like, is this okay? Is this right? I'm like, yeah, keep doing it. Or whereas like the in-person one, you come for 1 week and you might not see me for 2.5 weeks and you've gone and practiced the drill and you're not doing it efficiently,
mm,
and then you come back and you've got other problems. So I think accountability is really good because I can keep them accountable. I'm always on top of them, like, have you done the stuff? And then monitoring. But I also really love it because it's flexible.
yeah.
So it's flexible for me and the person. So
Yeah.
they don't have to find a time that's in my booked out diary for a month to try
Yeah.
and see me. They can just send it when they've had an hour to themselves, and I can send it when I'm on my day off by the pool.
Has it improved you as a coach?
I think it's definitely made me like work on how to explain
Mm,
things a certain way because it's over video. I can't actually touch the person. So
yeah.
it's really helped me learn how to explain things. And it's actually been quite nice because it's giving me a lot of feedback from my students, like how they love how simple I keep it and the drills that I give them. And I think the one thing I miss the most, though, with online coaching is that relationship. I feel it's not as, you know, not saying it's not strong, but I miss that, like, I like connection. So when
Yeah.
I'm with people in person, I really love that relationship and connection and being there and laughing and stuff. I think it misses that,
Yeah.
in all honesty, but I think it achieves a lot of things because I have 10 people around the world that get to see me and they can't have access to me. So I think
Mm.
that's really good.
And I would nearly say as well, like I understand that immediate connection thing, right? But you're seeing that person for 1 hour a month, right, in person. Mate, I'm talking to my subscribers every second or third day. So I'm
Yeah,
actually tighter
that's
with them
true.
than anyone. And I've been invited to 3 weddings. I had a couple propose, with me, come and saw me in Bali. So like it's yeah, you can get deep with them and it's great. I have people sending me pictures of their kids or their dogs or their wedding photos and I like it. But interesting, you mentioned something about communication. And, for me, I've had to learn how to describe everything under the sun, like
Literally. Yeah.
because I've given so many of them. So I'm really good at, I've gotten better, I should say, at communicating each individual thing, you know, how your big toe works, whatever. Like I can get anything across and how to describe it. I've got more analogies than anyone. But what it's done to my in-person coaching is I've become less hands-on because my communication skills is better at telling my in-person students what to do.
True. It's kind of true
So
thinking
I used
back.
to just I used
Yeah.
to get in there and rip hips open, rip rib cages, or grab them by the head. Where essentially I'll hold the lemonade up now as close as I'll
Yeah.
get. So it definitely has improved my communication skills as a coach for sure.
Yeah, for sure. Definitely.
Hey, and tell me something, right? This is something I haven't told you anything about, right? But what is the weirdest thing that Paige does in her life, right? That is weird, but to everyone else it's weird, but it's normal to you.
I have no idea. What kind of question is that? What is weird? I'm pretty weird. Like, let's be honest, but I don't know if this is weird, but like I say like silly things and like a silly voice. I'm always dancing and like acting like an absolute buffoon
Yeah,
at
yeah.
home. Like I don't know if that's weird though. Like
No.
I just, what's weird? I do talk in baby voice to my boyfriend, but I think a lot of,
That is weird.
okay, not all the time, but like, yeah, sometimes.
What do you say? What's his name? Daniel, is it?
Daniel, poor Daniel. I
Hey,
hope, Alex, you need to
hey,
cut.
Daniel, can you please make me an avocado on toast, please, Daniel?
No, it's more like he calls, and I'm like, what are you doing? So that's pretty weird. But I am a bit of a weirdo, and I think that's why people like me because I'm just like
Yeah,
weird.
that's weird. I'm weird. I do weird things too. I like to. I have weird like eating things that I do. Like I have peanut butter wraps with avocado and banana. Like I do like weird things. I have like steak at breakfast. I do weird things. I do.
It's not
My
too bad. That's
Mine's
food.
mainly around dieting, but my old life was
Yeah.
weird.
Well, maybe you should have told me that. I could have done like a dieting one rather than like telling people I do baby
That's
voice.
okay. I've actually just penciled that in. That's the one that's going on the Instagram. That clip there, minute 07. All right. So no, but tell me. All right, now, what is golf to Paige? Tell me what golf is.
That's my life.
Yes.
Um, I don't know. It's just like I don't know. It's just my life. Like I love golf. I love the relationships it's brought me. I have friends that are 60. Um,
Mm.
I think it's given me so many opportunities, golf.
Yeah.
I just wrote an article actually in the Women's Golf magazine about, the PGA, and like how many options there are in the golf industry if you want to stay in it. It's not just being a tour professional. Like there's so many options. You can be a golf coach, you can be a manager. You know what I mean? Like
Yeah.
it just gives you so many opportunities, golf, and it
Yeah.
gives you a lot of connections and relationships. Um, yeah, like I'm so blessed to have the amount of connections I have.
Yeah.
And it's all because of golf. So one day when I get married, I think I'm going to have like 3 million people at my wedding. Like
Mm.
I'm going to
Yeah.
elope, I reckon.
You'll have the person there who you shot 42 points with when you're 16 on the Wednesday afternoon. They got to come. You know. Tell me. So, but I tell you what's interesting about what golf is, right? And I think people listening to this and have a deep think about it. What golf is to you? For instance, for me, like it's evolved a lot. It's evolved a lot. Golf, like for me as a kid, to what it is and to what it's given me and my family. Like it's crazy. It's crazy. It's like imagine if we didn't have golf.
I
Gosh,
literally don't know what I'd do.
I don't know. I don't know. I'd probably still be in India. I don't know. I do not know. All right, so tell me, last thing. Tell me your dream four ball. So three other players, but it can't have Tiger Woods in it
Oh,
because everyone says Tiger. Actually, hang on, and as well. So I forgot to say this. I'm looking at my list now, and they can't be golfers.
oh,
Yeah.
oh my God. I think I would have Chris Hemsworth
Oh my god, I saw a video on him this morning. Yep.
because he's really good to look at. Um,
I get confused with him all the time when I go to Byron. People go, "Hey, Chris." I go, "Oh, it's not Chris. It's Toby. It's Toby." Sorry,
they're
mate.
righto, mate.
Yeah. Yeah.
Who else? I got two more. Two more.
Yes.
Far out. Who do I
Chris.
like?
Chris Hemsworth. God, I guess your
Uh,
boyfriend's not caddying, right?
he can caddy. He's all right. Um, oh, who would I have? I literally don't know. I don't think about these
What
things.
about What about comedians, actors?
Oh, Will Smith. Love Will Smith.
Yeah, cool. Bit
Um,
of controversy.
yeah, I don't
Don't say anything about his wife.
Toby. And then one more, Paige. How hard is it? This is the hardest question of them all.
Well, you got 4,000 people coming to your wedding, and you can't find 3 of them to play golf with.
Yeah, but like I play golf with them all the time, so it doesn't matter. I don't know.
It's all right.
This is like I literally have had a mind blank. Who do I like?
Chris Hemsworth, Will Smith, drum roll.
I need a chick. I don't know. Can you pick one for me?
All right, so we've just got a 3-ball.
Yeah, 3-ball, and then like a lucky draw, like someone like lucky pick.
Why don't we just auction it off?
Yes.
And we'll give it to charity.
That sounds like a better idea. We'll auction it off and give it to charity.
What charity would you give it to?
Probably Lifeline.
Yeah, I think that's a very good one.
Yeah.
Paige, where can people get you? Where can they see your smiling assassin face?
Well, you can see it online on Instagram at Paige Stubbs Golf.
Yes.
You can see it at Castle Hill Country Club in Sydney.
Country Club.
You can see it, Country Club. You can see it through Skillist. So I'm on Skillist. Facebook. I have Facebook. But I think Instagram and Skillist is my biggest ones. And watch this space because some interesting things will be coming next year.
That's cool.
So
I'll put all those links. I'll put all those links below. And what can someone? What do you offer on Skillist?
I offer programs or just one-off lessons, but I usually mainly work with people with programs because it's more in-depth, more monitoring, more accountability. You can have like a bronze, silver, or gold, like depending on how much you want. Yeah. So there's all different levels that you can check out.
So if someone's confused with the game and they want some simple instruction, Paige is your coach, right?
Yeah, I'm so simple. I really don't like technical. I know that sounds funny, but I think simple really works. And I think 98% of people that I've come across need simple coaching. And that's why I'm so booked out because
you're
extremely busy. Simple.
Extremely busy. And, there is the odd occasion where you get the neurosurgeon who wants to know technical stuff. But
yeah, and I can deliver that. But, I like to keep it simple.
Oh, Paige, well, I appreciate you coming on the Golf Coach podcast. You've been great, and I hope you are.
Thanks for having me. I felt like such a superstar being asked.
Oh, that's okay. You are a superstar. I wanted to get you on. I wanted to get you on to talk about your other thing, and then you started playing in the Australian Open, and I was like, God, we've got to get her on now, have a chat about this, and just talk golf, And I like that you come from a playing background. You keep it, like you say, you like to keep it simple. You don't like to overcomplicate it for people. I sometimes have, I've got guests coming up who are just like mad scientists, and are crazy into it. So it's good to break it up and to get someone as busy as you on here and people can come see you in person and come get you online. It's a privilege to have you on.
Thank you so much, Toby.
Thanks, Paige.
Thank you.